So I've just bought the DJI Osmo Nano. Now, fair play to DJI, they literally released this yesterday, announced it, released it all on the same day. I ordered it from the website and it came the very next day. So that's quite impressive turnaround time. But I have bought this. This isn't sponsored or affiliated or anything like that. But this is my first action camera from DJI. I already own the Osmo Pocket 3, which I haven't got to hand. But I haven't got any of the other action camera. It's also my first Nano camera. So this is going to be my review, my first impressions really. I've been playing with it for about 5 hours today because I love tech. But this is my thoughts on it. So let's start off with the hardware, the physical device and the pros of it. And obviously the main pro, if you're looking at a camera like for this, is going to be its size and weight. And this thing is pretty darn small and pretty darn light. I worked out it's something like 1/3 of the weight of a GoPro Hero camera. And it's about 1/5 of the weight of my phone, which is the Galaxy S24 Ultra. So it is pretty light. I had it mounted to a cap and barely noticed it was there. I had it on my head, barely noticed it was there. That's the beauty of this thing, and it certainly lives up to that. The mounting as well is super easy. If you're familiar with action cameras, then you will already be aware. It's sort of got this magnet thing that sort of aligns it into place, and then you just give it a little push down to fully lock it into place, and that's it. And then you cannot move it there. You have to press the buttons on the side in order to release it, and that works really, really well. As I said, it's my first experience with this mounting option, and honestly, you can mount it without even looking pretty easily. I love that it's got a removable lens cap as well. This lens cap, as you can see on the front, does just spin and completely come off. So if you do break it, you could get a replacement lens cap. So that's absolutely awesome. Transfer speeds of this are really impressive. So you do have to mount it to the dock in order to get the transfer speeds. But they do, I had about 400 megabytes a second, I think, something like that. So very quick transfer speeds on this, which is really nice coming from virtually every other camera out there, which tends to use SD cards, which even if you get a decently quick SD card, they're nowhere near as quick as this thing. So the footage getting off it is mega, mega fast. Speaking of which, it is pretty quick to charge as well. I've certainly, when I plugged it in earlier, I was really impressed with how quickly both the main camera unit and the dock both recharged. And a couple of little small things that I like about it. I like that you can use it as a remote viewfinder. So I was kind of assuming it would have to be docked to be able to use it as a viewfinder, but you can just separate it and it does just continue. In addition to that, you can be recording with the camera with the base off, and if you switch the base on, it does just very quickly connect and show you the viewfinder, and then you can switch the base off separately to that, which I really, really like. So in other words, what I was doing when I was running earlier is I had this mounted to my head, recording on its own, and occasionally I'd get this out to check that it wasn't looking at the sky or looking at the floor, that it was still recording, that it was recording, how much battery life was left, get that out of my pocket, check those things, put it away again. I really like that. I also really like that it can be mounted both ways. Obviously, for this whole video so far, I've had it mounted that way because I prefer to have the camera facing me, obviously for selfie shots. Also, it means that the back is just plastic, so you can lay it down on a desk without worrying about scratching anything. But you can very easily just spin it around and mount it the other way. It completely supports that. The only thing I found that doesn't support being mounted this way is the transfer. When you're transferring files, it will tell you to swap it back around to the other way. Other than that, everything, including viewing the previous shots and stuff, can be done this way. So it's not a big deal. Some more cons of the Osmo Nano then. The dock itself isn't waterproof, which I feel like is very strange. I can't really see a reason that it can't be waterproof. I mean, yes, it does have the panel here for an SD card slot and a USB-C port, but it would be far from the first thing to have those things and be waterproof. So yeah, a bit of a strange one, not a massive deal, because realistically, if you're going underwater, you're going to be just using this one. You're not likely to take the whole dock, but also if you're using even part of it in the water, I can see you dropping it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's not a massive deal because the main camera unit is waterproof, but I just feel like it was almost like a rush job almost to not make this waterproof. I feel like when we get a V2 of the Nano, the base will be waterproof, and I'll be very surprised if it's not. So a bit disappointed for that, because also obviously you do get better battery life when you have them clipped together. So there's no reason you can't just use that as a GoPro effectively, as that sort of form factor, because it has got the mounting point on the bottom. So that would be, nice to be able to use it like this, but you just can't use it in the water, or I wouldn't want to use it in significant rain either. Another thing about the dock is that it doesn't have GPS in just the base or in any of it, but it makes sense to not have GPS in this, as it's obviously battery life is critical and it's also so small and light. But I feel like they could have added GPS to the base so that, like, if you ran it either with this in your pocket, this works like a GPS remote. I mean, DJI literally make a GPS remote, and that's effectively what this could be. Or obviously you could then have it mounted, as I said, a bit more like a GoPro, and then that could just have GPS. Again, I feel like they may add GPS in a V2 if they ever make one. But for now, no GPS, which is, again, not a big deal. It would have just been nice to see. As you've got this dedicated base anyway, which the weight is less of an issue for this, it would have been nice to see. On to the other really small things that I didn't really like about the hardware of this camera. The microphone seems to just be on the side. There is a hole on the front, which I assume is a microphone as well. But the first few times when I was recording, I held it like that, which of course covered the two microphones on the side. Okay, this is a test recording of the, oh, don't cover the mics. So then when I held it like that, it was completely fine. Again, it's in the small section for a reason. It's not a big deal. Once you learn that, you can kind of deal with it. But it just is what it is. I feel like it might have made more sense to put more microphones around so that no matter how you hold it, like that, for example, it can just switch to the microphones that aren't covered. That might have been nice. So a little bit of a weird one there. Also, the screen on the dock is a bit small. I saw some people complaining about that on some reviews. Honestly, I don't think this is an issue. It's called the Nano. It's supposed to be small and light. I think you could make it bigger, make a bigger screen, sure. I think the review I looked at in particular was comparing it to the Insta360 Go Ultra. But it's fine. Like, for what you need to do on it, this screen size is absolutely fine. I'd rather it be this size than be bigger and heavier, personally. Also, some of the accessories, I bought the running combo, so I have got the magnetic headband as well. Don't support mounting it vertically. Which obviously in a modern age of social media and 9:16 format, portrait format, it's kind of strange that some accessories you just can't mount it vertically. It might have been nice to have some sort of, maybe that you could spin the base 90 degrees or something. Like, it just feels weird in a modern day and age to only be able to film horizontally. Now, I will say you can film in 4:3, which I think is the sensor size, which obviously will allow you to do a pretty tall image. But still, being able to, as it's 4:3, it's not a square sensor, so you would still get a taller image like that. So just a bit of a weird one. Some accessories do support it. This is the suction mount that comes in the box, for example. This is just a ball joint, so you can just spin this, no problem at all. The lanyard mount, which I'm not sure I'll use because I feel like it will just move around too much, even for an action camera. This seems to be able to support both ways, so you can snap it on like that. Again, it's a real strong magnet, or like that, which is good. So it's not all bad. Some do support different ways of mounting, but some don't, which again just feels like, if anything, I feel like this should be default in 2025, upright. But yeah, just a ridiculously minor one. So that's the hardware then, but what about the software? Well, for me, I am coming from a DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and the big reason for buying the Nano was because the software is so good on the Pocket 3. And for me, the software is what makes it. That's a decent camera, but it's not the first gimbal camera. It's the software that makes it. And although this is a day one camera, the software is already pretty good. It doesn't leave me wanting for much, honestly. For example, it supports DJI mics out of the box, which I guess is kind of become a norm now, but you know, that's nice. It just felt intuitive. Swiping up from the bottom or the sides or whatever does things. It just feels, despite the small screen size, really easy to use. The app itself, I don't love their app. I feel like the app is harder to use than the device, despite having such a smaller screen on the device. So a little bit weird, that one. But what I will say is the app was very good for overlaying dashboard, they call it. So I overlaid some running stats, which I got downloaded from Strava, then converted it to fit format because it doesn't support Samsung watches, but it does support lots of other watches. Yeah, so that was really good. I mean, that's quite a premium feature. You can pay hundreds of euros for software that will do that. So that worked really nicely. So that was cool. But other than that, I feel like the app is honestly so-so. And there was no bugs. I haven't really found any bugs with this day one. There's been a couple of little weird things, but like, I don't think they were bugs. Like, for example, at one point I didn't seem to be able to turn it off, but I think it was just finishing recording still or something. So I pressed the button a bit too soon. You know, but that's just more usability than bugs. I've had no issues. It hasn't crashed on me. It hasn't corrupt anything. It hasn't been unresponsive at any point. For a day one device, it's surprisingly bug free. And a few negatives with the software though. First of all, the transfer speed to the app is relatively slow. I don't know if I've missed some sort of setting somewhere, but it only transfers at like 30 megabytes a second, which is just, I mean, that's slower than SD card speeds. That's like USB 2 speeds. I found it a bit weird that you couldn't use the horizon lock feature when you shoot in 4:3. Now, I assume that because 4:3 uses the whole sensor, they've decided that, well, we can't do that because we're not cropping at all, but just crop. I maybe understand it not working in 4K 4:3 because that is using every pixel of the entire sensor. But even when you lower it down to like 1080p 4:3, horizon lock is still not available. So very, very strange. You can only use their rock steady stabilization, which does seem to work very, very well. So I'm not too upset about it. But yeah, just a bit of a weird one, which again, I feel like probably will be improved in a future software update. So that's the hardware and the software. But what about using it as an actual camera? What about shooting footage? What is it like? Well, honestly, first of all, it's very smooth footage. It shouldn't be a surprise for an action type camera. But when I was running with it, it was almost like I was using a drone or a gimbal or something. It was very, very smooth, very, very impressive, which is absolutely awesome. That was with the head mount. The battery life, I also felt like was pretty decent with it in standalone mode, shooting in 4K 30 FPS 4:3. So using more pixels than the regular 4K because it makes the image taller. It lasted about 50 minutes or so on a charge, which honestly, like, unless you're shooting stuff non-stop, and if you're doing that, you probably want it mounted and you don't want a small camera, I think that's more than enough. When I was looking at getting an Insta360 Go, the battery life only being about half an hour, I was like, that's just like, if I'm recording a run, you know, I can only just record a 5K on that. I can't record a 10K, bit rubbish. With this, as long as I run pretty quickly, I can record an entire 10K road race, which is absolutely awesome. So battery life, I felt like was pretty good for the size and weight of this thing. But honestly though, in terms of the quality, it is good quality. I kind of expected more. Now, what I am coming from the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, which, look, this isn't a direct rival. Those aren't apples to apples comparison, right? Fine, I know that. But this is a newer camera. I did expect it to be almost up to the Pocket 3 in just pure stationary video quality, but it's not. It's still good quality. If you pixel peep and if you have it mounted, you know, let's say I was shooting this video on it, right? And in fact, I'll record this right now so you guys can see. So if I shoot this video, you will notice a much lower quality. I mean, I am using a Panasonic S5 here, but I could use the Pocket 3 and that's not far off the S5. But this will just be noticeably lower. Obviously, the viewing angle is massively wide, which is really, really nice. But for static shots, you do notice a slightly lower quality. But to be honest, when you actually get out on the road, when you are doing action, when you are mobile, as you should be with this kind of camera, and you've got it mounted to your head, the shots, you don't notice the reduction in quality. Everything seems really sharp and it seems like a really nice quality camera, and it's noticeably better than something like a smartphone would be in the same situation. So I feel like maybe my expectations were a bit too high for it, more than it's necessarily bad quality, because when you use it as it's intended to do, it seems like good quality. But I don't know, I just expected, and it's not exactly a small lens, a small camera, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's way bigger than what you get on phones, for example. So I maybe just expect it to be almost on a par with the Pocket 3, and it's not. But as I said, if you use it for its intended purposes, the quality is very good. I can't speak for how it compares to other rivals like by Insta360 because I haven't got those cameras. But yeah, I don't know. I was left a little bit disappointed with the image quality of this camera. So yeah, there we go. That is my review of the DJI Osmo Nano. Overall, I'm really impressed with this camera. Honestly, although the image quality isn't quite what I was expecting, other than that, everything else has pretty much matched my expectations. You know, I could have got this, for example, and it could have said, and you couldn't have view found when you were using it separately, or it could have been, you know, that you can't reverse the direction like that. You know, those sort of things were a possible limitation that could have existed with this camera, but none of them do. For the most part, just like the Pocket 3, it does everything you could possibly want it to do and more. The form factor is fantastic. My running footage is going to take a big step up from this thing, which is absolutely awesome. And the price is great. Honestly, I was expecting this thing to be approaching £400, a bit more Insta360 Go Ultra pricing. but it's not. I mean, I paid 270 or 280 or so for the 128 gig model. The pricing is very, very good. And honestly, to me, well worth it. In theory, this can do all of your action-y things, right? It can be like this, an action camera that lasts probably just as long as a GoPro. You can then take it off to have POV footage if you want to go for a run and have it mounted here or underwater or whatever you may want to do. Absolutely awesome. You can have a microphone attached to it wirelessly if you wanted to do, yes, okay, it won't be as nice quality as the Pocket 3, but if you wanted to do some vlog footage, you could film with the microphone attached to it. So it's just a really versatile camera. And for me, the fact that it's got the dock and the separate mounting means that it's going to be pretty much my go-to camera from now. This and the Pocket 3, if you've got those two in your pocket, there isn't a lot, honestly, that you can not do in terms of shooting. I was really impressed as well with the number of accessories in the box. I mean, this is a free accessory, for example. It's literally the suction cup mount, which you do not get with something like a GoPro. You also get the pendant mount to hang around your neck. I'm not sure I'd want to use that, but still. I did pay a bit extra to get the running headband as well, but that's only like 20, 25 quid or so. The other thing I was disappointed with that it didn't come with was the third-party action cam accessory to be able to mount, you know, GoPro mounts and stuff to it. I've got so much stuff on my desk, but you know, so I can't mount it to this handle, for example, because I have to buy the accessory, and that accessory is not cheap. So I think I'd rather it had come maybe without one of these and with that instead, or at least in addition, because it is just a bit of plastic at the end of the day. So I would have liked that, but as the price is so competitive, I honestly can't really complain. And it has got the standard action cam mounting for DJI products. If you've got the DJI action camera, for example, you won't be short of mounts for this thing. But if you're coming from something like a GoPro, like I used to have GoPros, then you're not gonna be able to mount it without buying that extra accessory. But overall, honestly, I'm really impressed with this thing. I really like it. It's my second DJI product. I love both of them. I've also got microphones as well, but they're all really, really good. I'm really impressed, and it's maybe kind of want the 360 camera, but I'm trying to figure out a use for that one, but I haven't got one just yet. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed my review of the DJI Osmo Nano camera. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Just getting started with this channel, trying to figure out if it's worth doing more tech reviews, if there's kind of an appetite for this kind of thing. So do sub, do let me know what you think as well. I've done some shorts of some samples and stuff and some little bits, and I'll probably do more shorts than I will longs on this channel just because it takes quite a lot of time to make these review videos. But yeah, anyway, guys, let me know what you think of the camera, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.